We start with football, where the Army have ended their fixtures for 2018 on a high. As the team build up to their defence of the Inter-Services title, they rounded off this year with a comfortable victory over Middlesex in the Southern Counties Championship. The Army were looking to bounce back from the 3-1 defeat against their German counterparts in last month's Remembrance match and were given an early chance, but Middlesex keeper Dragos Stefanica redeemed himself to deny Sean Woolley. From the resulting corner, the evergreen Keith Emerson couldn't hit the target despite stealing in front of his marker. With a number of key players missing, it was a chance for others to shine in their absence. Adam Wakely displayed a poacher's instinct to prod the military side in front in the 35th minute. Middlesex are a useful outfit, and the Army have come unstuck against them in the past, but this time the visitors were reduced to firing from distance. The Forces side could have doubled their advantage before the break as Graham Williams leapt to meet Dan Stoneman's floated free kick, but Williams nor teammate Jack May could find the net. Wakely was denied minutes later as he turned into the penalty area, but Stefanica did well to claim the deflected shot and it remained 1-0 to the Army at the break. The second half saw Middlesex try and find a way back into the match. Nicholas Curley lashed a shot into the side netting of the Army goal. It was, however, the home side who looked the more likely to find the target. Jay Hubbard forced a fine save from Stefanica. The away keeper was beaten for a second time though, with 20 minutes of the contest left to play. It was rather Route 1 stuff as Luke Kenny's long ball reached Stoneman, who kept his cool to fire home for a 2-0 lead. The Army kept up the pressure on their guests, Hubbard this time heading the ball over. It was Middlesex man George Ayew who showed the Army striker how to do it. He headed into his own goal on a frustrating night for the Londoners. So a 3-0 win for the Army as they get their season back on track. They face further Southern Counties opposition in the new year, before the Inter-Services starts in March.
The result didn't go in our favour up in Nottingham, but what did go in our favour was the boys learning and getting from that experience, taking the confidence into this game that we came here tonight.
Having a game against, the Germans that early on in the season, was that a positive, a negative looking forward?
Well, I mean, the result was obviously a negative, but I think from a positive point of view, the boys have experienced playing in front of a big crowd in a big stadium. They've got the confidence from that. They've now got a bit of belief in how we're asking them to play, and obviously from the result tonight, you can see that's where we've progressed to.
Yeah, great victory for you in the Southern Counties Championship. So where next?
We're back in for the next round of this in January, as yet to be confirmed who we're playing. We've got another fixture in Feb, and then we hit the Inter-Services on the 20th of March.
You only have a few fixtures really to sort of get your season going, if you like. Southern Counties provides you with a lot of ammunition for that.
Yeah, and they are obviously competitive games. You see tonight, Middlesex have come up here with a strong squad on a heavy pitch because of the rain, and it's obviously tested us in more ways than one.
No game at this level is comfortable, so what will you say to the guys looking forward now?
We just got to continue to work on the shape, get the balance right, get everybody in, get everybody fit, understand how we're expecting them to play, and hopefully when we hit January, go into Feb, and then the Inter-Services will have it all tied up ready to go against we play the RAF first here in Aldershot.
The Inter-Services this year, RAF at Aldershot, and then you travel down the sort of the 303 to Yeovil to take on the Royal Navy.
Yeah, we've actually got the first game and the third game, which we're not normally get that. We normally get the first and the second game, so we've actually got quite a big break between the two games. But depending on how the first game goes, we'll certainly know what we've got to do when we go down to Yeovil to play the Navy.
Yeah, at this stage of the season, you happy?
Yeah, extremely. Yeah, it's a real challenge. It always has. Getting the players here is always a challenge. Getting them to understand what we want them to do is a challenge. Getting them out there, but a performance like that tonight is really, it's worth the effort. It really is. The Army Rugby Union has launched a women's sevens team to encourage new athletes to give it a try. It's hoped some will even go on to compete at the highest level. The 15-a-side version of rugby is not quite midway through its season, but already members of the Army are looking forward to the summer. That's because for the first time, 2019 will see an Army women's sevens team compete on the Sevens circuit. One of those behind the move is Captain Gemma Rowland. A star in both versions of the game, she featured for Wales at the Women's World Cup and competed for her country at the Commonwealth Games. She believes this is the perfect time for the Army to launch a women's sevens setup.
The Army Rugby Union have realised that the growth of sevens being involved in both the Olympics and the Commonwealth Games over the last couple of years has meant that for women that's a huge growth area in terms of female participation in rugby. So, it's a no-brainer that with the success of the women on the 15s field that we probably have the opportunity now to move that across to the sevens environment. So for us, it's great that we are going to be able to explore another avenue of hopefully success.
You yourself, this comes hot on the heels of competing at the Commonwealth Games for Wales Sevens, so you must be delighted, and a chance for you to sort of go out and recruit girls that you think have got that sevens ability.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, it's always been disappointing that, I started my rugby career playing sevens, and in the Army I've never really had the opportunity to play it. It's always an honour to put on the red shirt and play in the inter-services and play some of the great opposition that we have, but we don't have that opportunity on the sevens field, so it's great that I now have that opportunity. And like you said, we are going to be able to attract females to join maybe the British Army who are more interested in sevens than 15s.
By starting their recruiting drive now, the Army are hoping to identify players who could play a part in Sevens success. The net is being cast wide, so those who've never played the game before may be attracted to giving it a try.
Sevens is a game of skill and speed. One error on a sevens field and it's a try to the other team. So, your handling skills need to be top notch, and, you need to be the fittest and, not necessarily the fastest, but you need to have a turn of pace, an acceleration. We're looking actually for players maybe that are transferred over from sports like sprinting. Even netball is a great one to have that footwork ability. So players that maybe aren't interested in 15s because it's a bit too contact heavy. Sevens is about evading that contact. So, it may be a chance for girls who have wanted to try rugby but don't like the thought of 15s to actually come across and now try their hand at sevens.
The sport at Army level will come under central governance. In charge is the newly appointed Director of Army Rugby Sevens, Major John Lord.
This is a real opportunity to develop the sevens sport. We've seen it in the Olympics now. We've got the Commonwealth Games, it's had its World Cup. It's a progressive sport that's really attracting a lot of new talent, and it's developing in its own right. And it's right now that spreads to the women's and to the masters, and that from the Army perspective we push all three as equal progress.
It's one of those sports that could work as a recruiting tool as well, and I suppose from the bigger picture, the chain of command, that's where they're looking at it from.
100%. Sport is a privilege for all of our soldiers. It's a great release. It teaches us a lot of skills surrounding leadership, teamwork, and of course, it's a way of enticing new recruits to join the Army. It's part of the offer. Something different over and above your day job that you can get paid for, you can go out, make new friends, new experiences.
The Army have ample ambition too. They hope other military players will go on and compete at the highest level.
This is a really exciting opportunity for women athletes within the Army to absolutely go to represent their countries, and that's really what we're looking to do, is tap in to the talented athlete scheme that the Army already has. Identify those potential players and then educate them, teach them, coach them to play rugby and support them through to the international pathway.
There is also the chance that a newly formed Army Sevens side will strengthen competition between all three services.
I would like to hope that we're blazing the trail for the other two services. I know that the RAF have had a sevens team as well, so I believe the Army and the RAF are in the same space, which is always good. I believe in healthy competition, and with my UCAF hat on, anything that grows women's rugby and grows the services is all good, and that competitive nature between us is what will actually expand the sport.
Trials for the Army Women's Sevens setup will take place in the new year. Well, staying with rugby, and Arthur Harrison is the only England international to have been awarded the Victoria Cross. He was serving in the Royal Navy and was killed in action in 1918. His medal has been on loan to the World Rugby Museum in Twickenham.
Arthur was born in Torquay. He spent almost all of his life on the south coast, around the sea, working on the sea in boats. And I think the sea and rugby were the two things that were the two important things in his life. He played for the United Services. He was a front row prop, and in 1914 he was selected to play for England. Alfred Maynard was the hooker from Durham, and he also fought in the conflict. He was with the Navy throughout the war as a gunnery officer on HMS Lion, which was the flagship of the British battlecruiser fleet. He was involved in all of the major engagements at sea, including Helio Blight, Dogger Bank, and of course Jutland, where he was mentioned in dispatches. He was almost sunk at Jutland. They managed to close the magazine doors at the last minute to avoid being sunk because the battlecruiser fleet had a hard time of it in that particular battle. And then in 1918 he volunteered for a special op, which was the Zeebrugge raid. which sadly he didn't return from. The plan was that they would create a diversion which would allow the 3 ships to get into the harbour mouth and scuttle themselves there. The plan didn't go as intended. The wind changed direction at the last minute, revealing the ships on their approach. So they came under fire before they landed. Harrison's position was on the side of the ship. It was his job to lower the gangplank down so the men could get onto the mole, and he was shot through the jaw as they approached, knocked unconscious, taken underneath. The plan was still in motion at that point, although things had gone wrong. Arthur regained his senses and then chose, despite his wounds, to lead the charge along the mole, and he and a number of men did that, and they were all shot, sadly. His body was never retrieved, but he was successful because the diversionary action did allow the 3 ships to be scuttled, and the mouth of the canal was blocked for 2 days. And he and a number of his men were awarded VCs posthumously for their bravery.
A former Royal Marine is in Gibraltar making final preparations before he attempts a new world record. Lee Spencer is aiming to become the first disabled person to row unsupported across the Atlantic. Kath Brazier has more.
Lee is no stranger to the Atlantic. He was part of the row to recovery team that took part in the Talisker Whisky Atlantic Challenge in 2015. Arriving in Antigua in January 2016, the 4 men, with only 3 legs between them, came 8th overall and set a new world record for the first all-amputee crew to achieve the feat. With this solo attempt, Lee is not only trying to become the first disabled person to row unsupported on the route, he's also attempting to beat the able-bodied record set by Steinhoff in 2002 of 96 days, 12 hours and 45 minutes. That second record means a lot to him and says it would show the world that there's life beyond injury. He has 90 days of rations but is hoping to complete the journey in under 70.
For me, another vital piece of equipment is this, my rowing leg. So what makes this particularly a rowing leg, if I unscrew this, the leg goes floppy, so that when it's sat in the foot plates, leg moves like that, so you've got your leg motion, so I can generate a little bit of power from my thighs, but also as I go across, I'm expecting to lose anywhere between 3.5 to 4 stone. Click that, and that clicks it in and it tightens it up. So this will get smaller as I get smaller as I go over.
During this feat of extraordinary physical and mental endurance, Lee will battle 30-foot waves, sleep deprivation, extreme fatigue, fear and solitude. He plans to row up to 18 hours a day.
Typically, a rower can expect to get about 70% of the power they produce from their legs. And obviously I've only got one leg, so, and my other leg, my left leg, that's as far as it bends, so I don't get much push with my legs. So I've concentrated in my training on building up as much upper body strength, shoulders and back as I can.
Getting training time in the boat hasn't been easy, but Lee should have everything he needs on board.
Okay, so what we've got in here is everything really. Underneath there is my 2 batteries that run all the power, all the water maker, all the navigation systems and everything I need. They're powered by 2 solar panels, and that tells me exactly what's going in. So at the moment I'm getting 0.6 of an amp going into both of them. 13.8 and 13.9 volts, so they're brand new batteries, changed about 2 hours ago, so everything's there. Switching everything on from the radio, VHF radio, all the way across to the Ray Marine navigation systems, which is here. And this also doubles up as my bed, so this will be home for the next couple of months.
It's unlikely that Lee will get more than 3 hours of sleep at a time, but it's nothing he's not prepared for. Due to depart Gibraltar next week, he'll travel to French Guiana, raising money for the Royal Marines charity and the Endeavour Fund.
Well, good luck to Lee on his Atlantic adventure. That's it for this week. Don't forget you can see all the action as we get it on forces.net and this show and more on YouTube. Next time, we'll be looking back on a great sporting year for the RAF. We'll leave you with some of the highlights from their centenary year. Bye for now.